Welcome, Facebook family. We're back into the new year, 2021. We just want to thank y'all for coming in when you decide to. Right now, we're just going through our pre-introductions of those that are coming in. So we'll normally start our lesson about 5 minutes after. So with that said, just want to thank y'all for coming in to the new year. Just wishing you a happy new year, 2021. Trying to salvage and think about what we went through in 2020. Some good, some bad, but 2021, hopefully that will pick up and get back to you having a successful year. You got anything to say about that?
No, we're just excited to get back started. We appreciate the participation, and hopefully we'll bring in some younger people. Not that there's anything wrong with the older folks, but we do want to try to expand our audience. And so you'll probably notice some changes over the next few weeks in hopes to kind of broaden or expand our reach. So anything you could do to help with that, as far as liking, commenting on the information, sharing the link, that is extremely helpful. Our goal is to reach as many as we can to help and encourage couples in their relationships. It takes work, so we're here to just assist with that.
All right. With that said, we just want to always give gratitude where it's due. We want to thank our bishop and our first lady for continuing to support the broadcast and the endeavors that we have in our hearts to help couples get better. I mean, that's just the basis of what we do. We just tonight is we're going to go from our title is Premarital Monday. Premarital Monday. And as you can see, we have a special guest sitting in the back of us.
Pre-marriage. Very pre-marriage. Not even on that page yet, but we're hoping that helping her prepare in advance, before your views get skewed by a specific person. Just being able to talk about some marriage principles and some dating principles, hoping to set her up for success from the very beginning.
Right. So with that said, we would like to invite Linda Camille Brinson to the broadcast. Yeah. The oldest man, Trina Brinson. And, she's got a couple of questions about marriage and dating. And we thought it was a good idea to start the year off with this subject. So with that said,
we're going to let her talk and tell us why she's here today.
Well, I just kind of looked around because I'm in college now, and that puts a lot of people in different stages in their life. Even as freshmen, we're all in different positions as far as dating and relationships and having kids goes. And I'm fortunate enough to not be in a position to want to get married yet, but I know that I will soon. So I wanted
soon or in the future.
In the future is what I meant, like years. I want a degree first, but I like to prepare myself, and even trying to navigate dating is kind of weird because I didn't really do it in high school. So figured if I had questions, other people did too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I will say that's something that's I think is very commendable, is that she's always been one to ask questions. And I know I told her from the time she is little, if you want to know the truth, just ask. Just ask. I won't lie to you. And your friends usually don't know much more than you know. Yeah. Even though they may act like they do.
Yes.
So if you ever want to know the truth, come to me, and I will always give you the best answers that I can without trying to, control or manipulate her. So I value and respect the fact that she chose to come to us with her questions and was willing to share them with the rest of you. So here we are today. We've got some people joining in, I see.
Yep.
It's so tiny. The writing is so tiny today. I can't really see it well. Yours is bigger. Who do we have so far?
We got our niece Stephanie Marie.
Yay.
She's on night. She was I started
to ask Miss Stephanie Marie to join us. But I figure we'll let Camille be the guinea pig first, because you're Stephanie.
Eldest.
Yeah, well, because she's actually probably closer to marriage than you are. So I didn't want to put her on the spot too much. So we'll let you be the guinea pig, and we'll give Stephanie some time to see if she wants to get her nerve up. I think she would be a really, really good candidate for this kind of conversation.
Oh, no doubt.
If we can get her on. So
we got Team Overflow, Charles and Francine Brown.
yes, faithful.
Miss Jeannie Smith says hello, Camille. Miss Olivia Smiley. And Miss Patricia Brown Smith. Those are the ones I can see from my phone. And we got my mother-in-law, Miss Emma Anderson, who's always a part of our broadcast.
Ride or die.
Yes, yes.
We can count on her. All right, you keep talking because I need to share my share the link.
All right, and we're just gonna tonight. We're just gonna have a discussion, a frank discussion with Cammy and the rest of you. If you got any questions, you can ask them as we go through the broadcast. We've got a couple of questions we're gonna address. And like I said, I'm the timekeeper of this broadcast, so we're gonna stay within our time limit to address these. And maybe you can go back, and those of you that are older and in relationships, maybe you can reminisce on where you come from in your relationship when you were first thinking about getting married, and share this information with those that are thinking about marriage or at the marriage age and haven't done it yet. And hopefully the information that we're sharing tonight will help you and them, just make your relationship better. That is our claim. So with that said, we will go ahead and start. Linda Camille, you want to ask your first question?
Yes. Okay, so how long is too long to date? Because I notice people date for years and years and years, and they have kids, and they're still dating, and they're not married, but they're living together. And at some point, it's like a waste of time to me. Because you're living like you're married, but you're not. So clearly you don't want to get married, but you want to be together, so that's confusing. So is there like a window of time?
Well, that's a good question,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a question definitely worth asking. My thoughts on that is I can't see where the Bible gives a clear-cut, definitive response for that.
Yeah.
So what I can share with you is my perspective, what I know. I have heard this question asked of Bishop Bush before, and the response that he gave was that it's important to see people through a cycle, like at least through a year. You need to see them through the seasons. You need to study and pay attention to how they behave and respond through different life situations. Because people, when you're dating, you put your game face on initially,
Mm-hmm.
and after a while, the more comfortable you get with the person, each of you starts to let your guard down, and your true personality starts to come out a little more. So I think you do have to be aware that initially, everybody's putting their best face forward. Not that it's being fake. You just want to make a good impression. And so I think you have to keep that in mind initially, but pay attention to how a person deals with adversity. Pay attention to how they deal with when the holidays come around, how that affects a person. Some people really struggle emotionally with the changes in seasons and with the holidays and all. And you need to be able to see who that person is.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you can make an informed decision about the relationship. If you've been with somebody for 5 years, okay, you know what they're all about.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to hog up the conversation here. You know what they're all about. And so it doesn't take that long to figure out if this is a person that you're compatible with, or if this is a person whose flaws are flaws that you can deal with, versus if you find out that there's some things about them that are not what you want for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point in sticking around for more of the same or waiting for them to change? I think that's where relationships sometimes get really drawn out, is people waiting to see what changes or hoping things get better. But in the words of Maya Angelou, when people show you who they are, believe them. Believe them. So that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with what you said, and Tor, and when you're in a relationship, that's where you learn to give and take in the relationship, and you're judging people based on what the experiences you've had with them. So when you get in that relationship, you need to know and go through the seasons like your mom said to know exactly who you're dealing with. You'll figure out people the more time you're around them. Like you said, you pick up their tendencies. You know what makes them angry. You know what they do to aggravate you. And then you understand, is this something I can put up with, or is this something I can't? Is it a deal breaker or is it not?
Right.
So when you go through those times, you got to know, the most important thing you got to know when you're dating is who you are first.
Yes.
And we'll get into that a little bit later. And then you understand how the other person can come into your life and bring what you need into your life if that's something that you want to deal with.
I think dating is a period of collecting data. If you view it as collecting data so that you can make an informed decision. I think that's an important perspective, or a little bit of a metaphor to use for dating, is that, you're not just dating to see how you feel with this person and to see where the relationship goes. Don't be aimless. I mean, be strategic. Intentional. Yeah. Right. Strategic and intentional. Dating is meant to be for a season. It's not meant to be a permanent situation. And so while you're dating, be intentional about the fact that you are collecting data, and that person is collecting data too. And you're also, they should be, and you're also learning more about yourself. As you're not only collecting data on them, but you're also learning yourself. You're learning how to function within a relationship, how to be compatible, or to determine if somebody is compatible to you or not. So you're learning, right. So I think I hope that helps. What's your takeaway from that?
That it sounds like it's just kind of probably a relationship to relationship thing. Once you've learned enough about the person, if you've in your mind you're like, I cannot marry them, to just go ahead and just don't draw it out further than it needs to be drawn out. Like, you have to make that call for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's definitely a call for you now.
Yeah, because
you can't marry nobody for us. We may think a guy's hey, he's perfect for you, but we don't know him like you do. So, but like you said, it's one of those things where you like, I'm gonna cut my losses right now and move on. And sometimes that decision may hurt, but it might be the right decision at the time. Okay.
Anybody have any advice on that? You got it right there, bigger.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm struggling. You don't have to struggle too.
It's all the season and situation. Just Charles Brown had a comment. He said, very good. You have to see how they react to all seasons and situations. Mm-hmm. All right. What's your next question?
Yeah, how do you balance together time versus alone time?
You mean when you're married?
Before and after. Because, I guess when you're dating, you have your own home to go home to, but even still, I notice a lot of married couples not married, dating couples spend a lot of time together. It's like you never see one without the other. Maybe that works for some people, but it just seems like you'd get sick of each other, especially when you're married, because you live in the same house, you sleep in the same bed, and you sometimes have to share cars. It's like, when do you have your own space?
Well, see, when you're talking about having your own time, that's something that you have to establish within the relationship. Each individual relationship needs its own value system, if you know what I'm talking about. So if you're one of those people that like your spare time, you need to discuss that with that other person. That needs to be a communication piece between you and the other person that you're dating. We can, for example, in the dating realm, when you're dating, here's the deal. No one owes you anything but respect. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If that person chooses to give you time while y'all dating, then that's time that y'all have together. But they don't owe you time in the relationship. But what they should do is be in a willing mindset to give you time so y'all can learn each other. How you gonna learn each other if you don't spend time with each other while you're dating? Mm-hmm. So if you got a person that doesn't like to spend time with you, that's an indicator.
If you got a person who don't like to spend time with you, then that person is not in love with you. Right, that's an indicator. When you're in love with somebody, and mind you, in love is it's really, I don't want to just say infatuation, but that is part of it. Mm-hmm. And that a part of that comes with wanting to be with that person. It's usually not an issue of we don't spend enough time together, or that you're getting on my nerves. It's that both of us want to spend as much time together as we possibly can. That's just part of the being in love, and and having that strong chemical, physical attraction to that person. That comes in the early stages of being together. So that's not really a problem initially. And for some people, I mean, they, you see one, you see the other. They don't, take a step without each other. But that depends on that particular situation, that couple situation. Most people at some point, when the newness of it all kind of wears off, and that can take years for some people before they really get to the point like, okay, he is on my nerves, or it may come. Most likely at some point it'll come when all the butterflies kind of wear down some. But you have to have a good foundation for communication, and you've got to. It's important for each person to be an individual, to where you don't feel dependent on that person being there. You should still be able to function as a fully independent adult. Right, and so the desire to, that part of sharing space with somebody comes as a part of, this is how two are becoming one. We are sharing our life. It's intentional. Mm-hmm. And so it's not a burden to share space with the person you love. And if it gets to that point, then you got to work on the relationship itself. So, but it is very important for people to be an individual and not to be, you don't want a relationship that's built on codependency. Right. To where, you can't do without that person, they can't do without you. You want to be able to be a fully independent person as well as be connected to a fully independent person, but you choose to be together.
And see, during this time, during the dating phase, is when you have the most time to spend with each other. Mm-hmm. If I can submit that. Yeah. Because I mean, you're busy, but you're busy because you have a purpose throughout the day. I mean, if we're going to talk about college, let's just talk about the college years. When you're talking about the college years, you have class, and then you basically have your time to yourself for the most part. I mean, you may have a job, but your job is not going to take up a whole plethora of your time. Now, when we move into the marriage years, where you have
a job,
career, and kids, and all the other stuff that comes with that, then you have to manage your time to spend time with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's how you build a life together.
Well, no, that makes sense. I was comparing mine with you guys because you guys like sleep in the same room. When I get tired of mine, I go home. Like, I have my own space. I have my own dorm. You guys share a home. But I didn't think about the fact that both of you have jobs and children, and there's a dog, and you guys aren't up on each other. I mean,
sometimes that's the only time we get together. We really, that we may physically have together is that time at the end of the day.
I mean, of course, talking now, COVID changed that because we had a whole bunch of time with each other. Right. But, any given year, that has not been the case. No.
So it's not a burden to share a room together. It's a privilege.
Right.
And it's part of what keeps the relationship together. I mean, having those systems in place to where, like, for some people, dinner time is that time. For their family as a whole, it's like that structure is built into their lifestyle to force everybody to enjoy it, to have that kind of sacred time together. You know, because otherwise, if you don't do it, it might not happen, and the relationship starts to deteriorate because you're not spending time together.
Right. Our niece says, Stephanie Marie says, okay, so what happens when you pass the in love stage?
We've actually talked about this several times on the program, and I'm glad you asked that question, Stephanie, because it's really important. A lot of people, honestly, their marriage falls apart after they don't feel
the love,
that the
butterflies,
that more superficial level of being in love, and they don't realize that doesn't happen forever naturally. And so what you have to do is, once that sort of trying to think of what's the right word, like instinct, that instinctual type of love is just.
How about at the beginning? The word you use, infatuation, was it?
Yeah. So, but I mean, I don't want to belittle the feeling of being in love,
right?
You know, because that's real too. But what happens is you then have to make a conscious decision to do the work that it takes to get back to that place, or to get. You don't necessarily go back to that place, but you kind of have to work through that dry season in order to build up that connection, which actually becomes stronger than that love that came so easily, because you love that person, you want to be with them, you can't get enough of them. When that runs out, you have to decide, the two of you have to consciously make a decision to work to build a relationship to the next level.
Right. And
when you get to that next level, those feelings do come back, but they come back a little bit differently. Yeah. It's not that same. It's stronger.
I like to use the word, and I haven't read this anywhere. It's just me. From being in love to committed love.
Right. Right.
You know, when you're in love, you know, people use that term like, I look at her and I just like her all the time. Oh boy, I can eat her up. Mm-hmm. But when you have that committed love, you can look at her sometimes like, I really don't want to be around her, but I love her too much to get away from her or him, because you have that committed love. And committed love is way better than the in love stage, because you're able to function the way you need to function as a group, instead of just, being there because there's that in love feeling that you have, like you can't live without this person. It needs to be that I choose not to live without this person, when you have that committed love.
Yeah. And then your behaviors and your actions towards that person, towards the relationship, are intentional. And that's where we talk a lot about the importance of dating inside of your marriage. Dating is not just for single people. Dating inside of your marriage helps to bring that connection. And I know you have a question about sex that we're coming up to, but this is really a good place to mention it. That's one of the things that keeps couples connected also, is sex. Sex has a function within marriage. It's not just because, it's fun, or it's, all the things that we know sex is. Well, some of us know that it is. Yeah. It's not just, God had a plan for sex, and part of that plan is to keep us connected.
Right.
Okay, so my next question is, what if we're not sexually compatible, or if I get married and find out that I do not enjoy sex?
Okay.
Because I'm abstinent and have no idea.
Well, the thing about sexual compatibility is you need to form a relationship first before you get involved with sex, because if you allow sex to come into your relationship before your relationship is ready to be committed to each other, it brings about a whole bunch of problems.
I don't think that'll be my problem though, because I'll be engaged and married. So what if I just don't, some people just don't like sex?
Okay, so you talking to the wrong crowd. Because you talking to the wrong people, because inside of people, sex is so distorted in today's world, and very often people bring into marriage a very distorted view of sex. And then you got to deal with all that garbage inside the marriage, all that stuff, the experiences from before, the other people they might have been with, the other types of experiences they had during sex that their partner might not be interested in. And I ain't trying to hang from the chandeliers. That ain't the flavor I can work with, and that might be the flavor he might want to work with. You know what I'm saying? So that may be kind of what the incompatibility is that people come to the table with a different sexual history. Mm-hmm. But just like you come into the marriage with different family history, you have to work through that. And you work through that by being able to communicate maturely. If you can't talk maturely about sex, you ain't got no business being married. No. If you can't talk about sex in a serious manner, you ain't got no business even remotely near marriage, because that needs to be something you can discuss openly and honestly, and the two of you have to decide what's agreeable for the two of you, and you have to stay open to realizing that it's not about control. It can't just be my way. Mm-hmm. I gotta be open to get down, Cisco. Get down.
You're interrupting the broadcast, sir.
And so you have to be open to having conversations and being willing to be able to please your spouse, and also being able to get your needs met. It's not a one-sided situation. And so it's one of those things you grow into compatibility.
Right.
You may not start out on the same page, So if you should be able to, it's the communication. It falls back on, you got to learn how to communicate, on a basic level. That was Cisco.
Yeah.
On the basic level about basic everyday things. If you can't agree on what restaurant y'all want to eat at, what type of food you want to have, or what type of city you want to live in, what type of house you want to live in, all those things are opportunities for you to learn to communicate and to express what you want, and also to listen to what your spouse wants, and have the two of you to get good at being a team,
right,
and making decisions as a team. And the same is true for sex.
Yeah.
So I think people put too much emphasis on, what if we're not sexually compatible? You work on it. Mm-hmm. That's what. You work on it. You learn each other. You be honest and open. Be willing to, maybe learn some things that you didn't know that your spouse might be interested in. But you've got to be able to have open and honest communication about sex, and it will be something that you'll want to do and that you will enjoy, because it'll be that you've customized it for yourselves, the two of you.
And it's best to be done within the framework of marriage, to work on that with each other.
Because it's hard to be vulnerable with somebody that you're not. I would think I'm not a good person to speak on this because I have one partner, but I gotta think that it would be very hard to be really open and honest about sex with somebody that you're not committed to for the long run, because you got to worry about them putting your business out there in the street. Right. That's too much. But inside of marriage, it's us. It's just us.
I know, that makes sense.
What were you gonna say? I feel like I cut you off.
Well, no. Bishop always have a saying about sex and marriage. It says sex is for responsible. No,
marriage is for
responsible people. And sex is for married people.
Yeah.
So there comes a level of responsibility when you're actually talking about having sex with somebody. And I don't want to be preaching to the young people that are listening, but it has to be one of those things where you got to know yourself. And if you get involved with it too early, and just like my niece made she made a comment, it can cause a whole bunch of issues.
Oh yeah.
Mistrust. Mm-hmm. If I don't like it with you, I don't have to try no more. Now I got you and I can have her too or him too. So, you get in a committed relationship under the marriage vows, and then you learn how to be compatible with sex.
Yeah.
That's the best recipe. Do a lot of people follow that recipe? I don't know. Probably not. I don't have those statistics, but that's the best recipe to follow for a successful, healthy sexual relationship. else you got?
Okay, what if I do if after we're married he has a female coworker that makes me uncomfortable that he is unaware of, or I have a male coworker he's uncomfortable with and I'm not aware of it? How do you address that without implying that you mistrust your partner?
Well, see, my thing is, I'm just going to talk for me and my wife. We're not each other babysitters.
Right.
So when I go out to my job or she go out to her job, we got to trust that she's going to make the right decision with whoever she come in contact with. And she got to trust I'm going to make the right decision whoever I'm going to come in contact with. So I can't think, all throughout the day who she's coming in contact with or what guy may actually be attracted to her, because you can't stop somebody's attraction to you. Mm-hmm. Where you can stop it is you don't get involved with that person in a relationship, whether it's just talking or physical or whatever, because now you violate your relationship with that person that you married to. Mm-hmm. So we don't do that. We don't.
We're not the police,
right,
for each other. If he made a commitment to me, and unless he shows me that he's not taking that commitment seriously, I otherwise don't have. I trust that he will guard our marriage. That's his responsibility to guard it. So, sometimes as a woman, you can see where another woman might have an idea that ain't holy. Yeah. And what I do, I mention it to him.
That's what I'm asking. Do you just say it? Just like, hey.
I just share my concern. It goes back to communicate. You got to be able to communicate open and honestly. And I'll say, listen, you might need to watch yourself around so-and-so. All her intentions ain't holy from what I see. And what would be your response to that?
I didn't even notice.
That's always the process.
Yes.
But now that I've increased his awareness of it, he has a responsibility to guard our marriage from his perspective. And so I'm that's just kind of the way we handle it. I know people handle things differently. But that's the way we handle it. I expect him to protect our marriage. I would appreciate it if other people would respect it as well. Mm-hmm. But my job is to protect our marriage. And his job is to protect our marriage. And that has worked for us.
And you see how she addressed that. It wasn't accusatory of me doing something wrong. Right. She was like, I noticed her. Mm-hmm. And then that will bring the idea to me like, maybe she did do something a little shady. I don't pick up on no vibe because I choose not to. And I definitely don't involve myself with a woman that may be interested in me like that. Like I say, I got to protect the vows, and hopefully when she go out, she don't entertain those dudes that may be trying to come on to her. So we choose to protect each other within our marriage framework from any outside involvement.
Yeah, and sometimes it goes to, I was thinking about specific, this was so many years ago, I can't remember the details, but this one specific person, she just was out of order. Like she would go out of her way to not ask me something. I can't remember the project we were working on, something at church, but she would go out of her way not to come to me, but to have to go to him to ask. And it was just so obvious to me, that she was going out of her way so that she could have a reason to call or to speak to or ask questions. And he was oblivious to it. And so what I did was, because of the position I was in for whatever project we were doing at this, it's not even at Crown, it was at a different church. I let her know, hey, listen, I know you got questions about, XYZ. Here is my number. Give me a call. He's got a lot of stuff going on at work. Just give me a call and I can get you the answers you need quickly. And that was pretty much the end of that. Did she ever call? No. Did she have any more questions? She didn't ask them if she did. But it just kind of let her it was just my way of letting her know without being confrontational. You have access to me. You can come and ask me. And I'm also quick to tell people too. I'm not his secretary. Go straight to him. Right. Yeah.
All right.
But I will say people's relationship work differently. Some women prefer to handle it, everything that comes in, and some men are more predisposed or have a proclivity to being unfaithful. And that's something you can't ignore either. I'm thankful that's not our situation. That's never been our situation really from both of us. But some people are more. They have a proclivity to that. Maybe how they were raised, or they just kind of have an issue with women. And if that's the case, the two of you have to communicate in order to put some safeguards in place. But you got to both want to keep the marriage in a good, healthy place.
Yeah, communication definitely helps that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been a healthy discussion. I mean, we at 7:30.
Yeah.
7:36.
Okay.
I mean, I live with y'all. I can ask you whatever I want to.
Yeah, so I hope that the conversation was helpful. If someone else wants to be a part of a conversation in a similar format, I mean, just reach out to us. We're chatty people. We like to talk. And we certainly want to help other people learn and grow. So feel free, reach out to us if you've got some questions or you'd like to be a guest on, and let us know if you think this format was helpful, or if y'all just feel like we could have had this conversation ourselves at home.
I need to be broadcast.
So hopefully it was helpful. So we don't mind sharing, being transparent, because this is very much like a conversation we would have at home anyway. Yeah, just sitting around. It's always at bedtime. You want to ask a bunch of deep questions.
I want to go to sleep till like 1.
I think it's a stalling technique that you learned early on as a child.
I guess. I don't have a bedtime anymore, so there's no
need
for me to stall.
You want to get real deep at bedtime, and then we be up for hours talking about deep stuff. So, but that's just kind of the way our family has always flowed. Yeah, has always been. So we hope it helped.
Give you a little something to think about. Take some of y'all back. Hopefully bring some of y'all forward with your relationship ideals. And with that said, I think we're done, right?
Mm-hmm. That's it for this week.
All right. That's it for this week. Just want to thank y'all for tuning in. And just a couple things going on at Crown every week. Tomorrow is Bible study with the bishop, either 12 noon or 7 o'clock. On Wednesday is the men's mentorship program, and on Thursday we have master's class with the bishop talking about the week's lesson from Bible study and from the previous sermon on Sunday. And then of course on Sunday we have our regular church service at 10, broadcast over Facebook and YouTube, and then there's a master class after that. So there's word if you want it. All right. And with that said, Bishop is going into some good and new stuff. So tune in to find out how it applies to you.
What's the I was laughing at you saying good and new stuff. I was trying to remember the topic we were talking about. What's the topic? Dealing with the the enemy within you.
Right.
I wanted to make sure to say that we're talking about, of course, becoming a people of means, but also dealing with that enemy on the inside of you. And that's an important concept for spiritual growth as an individual. And of course, we know as you grow as an individual, that only strengthens your marriage relationship as well. But this lesson is a lesson that I certainly encourage everybody, whether you're a member of Crown or not, to get this lesson, get this concept. It is a fundamental principle for learning to live your life in victory as a Christian. We have to get over what we do to ourselves, those negative inner thoughts, and we've got to learn to empower ourselves by knowing who God made us to be and knowing how to tap into the greater that's on the inside of us. So look out on the church web page, Facebook, Facebook page, YouTube channel. Go back and look at those last several lessons, particularly Sunday's lesson. And just, it's good information for you to grow. If you're here with us, we know you're someone who's interested in growth. And just go back and get that lesson. And I just don't believe you will regret going back listening to, or even the panel discussion that we have about the lesson. But just try to get a hold of this information to be a better you and to overcome the enemy that you are to yourself.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Anything you
with
want
that
to say,
said,
Miss Camille?
Not at all.
Well,
all right.
We appreciate your time.
Yep. So with that said, from the lady and the coach and our little producer, the producer herself, Camille, we want to thank y'all for joining us tonight. Good night. We love y'all.